Hello, my name is Tony. This film has been mentioned several times in comments, most recently by John Anderson in relation to the review of Michael Winner's remake of The Big Sleep. So I thought to myself, you've seen it on VHS back in the day, it should be right up your street, so why haven't you revisited it in all this time? The simple answer is that I didn't feel it to be that great, my lager clouded recollection being that it was very messy, choppy and pulled its punches, when it should have been full on in your face, balls to the wall stuff. So as I find myself able to access the Blu-ray remaster, I thought I'd give it another shot, refresh my memory, remind me what I had against it. Couldn't hurt, and I'm pleased to report it didn't. Seeing the Blu-ray revealed my reluctance. Before me in the here and now was the uncut, uncensored version that I never got to see. It is a monumental improvement over the version I saw on VHS. Of course, at the time of release on home formats in 1986, I now recall, the VHS rental market was booming in the UK. Likewise, the puritanical, scaredy-cat, faux morally superior mindset of the BBFC, who were on a crusade to protect the public from all that unpleasant mind-warping sex and violence, the great unwashed were too feeble-minded to recognise and process as fiction and fantasy. What if they think it's real? I mean, they are fucking dumbbells. The video nasty purge and ensuing media witch hunt was upon us, and I, the jury, fell foul of it. The version I saw had been cut to ribbons, butchered, like someone let a 4-year-old with a rare medieval palsy and a blindfold have a go at it with a rusty butter knife. The film had been ruined, but not anymore. Now it's been restored to its full glory, and as such is drop-dead serious fun. I, the Jury was the first Mike Hammer novel. It was written in 1947 by Mickey Spillane. Spillane wanted to create a hard-boiled private eye character, one tougher and more violent than Spade or Marlowe. Hammer differed by being a much more physically and sexually aggressive proposition. A patriot and anti-communist, he respected the police, appreciating the difficulties of their job, but often saw the law as an impediment to justice. Whereas Marlowe, say, would bend or manipulate the law, Hammer wouldn't be above bulldozing straight through it to achieve his objective, justice at all costs. He was more of a vigilante, often prone to episodes of rage capable of causing serious damage and killing people. Also, he didn't age, as Spillane reasoned that heroes never age or die. Someone should have told the Bond producers. To sum up, Hammer is a cynical, hard-bitten loner, contemptuous of the legal process, holding only the virtue of justice in esteem, enforcing the law on his own terms. The only person he seems to demonstrate affection or real concern towards is his secretary Velda. There have been around 28 Mike Hammer novels. Some screen incarnations have softened the character, making him more palatable for general audiences, but I, the Jury in 1982 certainly didn't do that. And now I've got the full story, let's see what it did do. Larry Cohen scripted the movie and kept the basic plotline of Hammer investigating the murder of a friend, with revenge and justice driving his obsession. The other thing his screenplay retained was framing the character of Hammer faithfully in respect of Spillane's template. Fans seem to feel it the most accurate capture of the tone and spirit of Spillane's work. Outside of that, apart from a few notable inclusions, the narrative is a whole different ballgame. Cohen was supposed to direct, but got canned early on due to differences over the budget. He was replaced by Richard T. Heffron, who previously directed Future World, a crap sequel to Michael Crichton's Westworld. Heffron had a nothing career that went nowhere in particular, likely not helped by the company that made I, the Jury going bankrupt, and the film bombing like a big fucking bomb dropped on a big fucking bomb factory during bomb making season. I don't mind suggesting strongly it's the best thing on his resume. Film kicks off with Private Dick Mike Hammer Armand Asante getting employed to keep an eye on some guy's adulterous wife whilst he's out of town. Cut to a scene of Hammer having sex with the guy's wife whilst giving him a progress report on the phone. As the lady gets more aroused, he tells the guy he'll have to call him back. What a dog. Hammer's friend, fellow PI Jack Williams, Frederick Downs, is shot and killed in his apartment. Jack lost an arm saving Hammer's life in Vietnam. A friend of both men, police detective Pat Chambers, Paul Sorvino, who is working the case, warns Hammer to keep out of it. Yep, like that's gonna happen. Hammer visits Jack's widow, Myrna Mary Margaret Amato, to find out what case Jack was working, feeling it might shed light on his murder. Myrna reveals little except they were having marital problems relating to sex and were visiting a sex therapy clinic, in which Jack was particularly interested. You don't say. I wonder why. Hammer visits the clinic hoping to find out more. He runs into head honcho Dr. Charlotte Bennett, Barbara Carrera. His suspicions are aroused when he finds government-issue surveillance devices in the doctor's office. She explains she records all her interviews and then has him turfed out. Velda Lorene Landon, Hammer's knockout secretary, traces gasoline receipts of Jack's to a place near Bear Mountain, where Joe Butler, Jeffrey Lewis, an old war comrade of Hammer's, runs a summer camp. Flying up there together, Hammer and Velda find the camp is closed and Butler, an alcoholic, living there alone. Butler explains that Jack was looking for information on a covert brainwashing operation run out of Saigon by a Captain Romero, Barry Snyder. Romero ended up killing a lot of prisoners with his techniques, but for the survivors the success rate was high in flipping enemy personnel. 2 cars turn up full of men with guns. Hammer, Velda and Butler flee in Butler's old pickup. A frantic car chase ends with the interlopers burned, blown up, shot and dead. Butler suggests they may have been CIA operatives. Back in the city, Hammer learns that the gun that killed Jack was registered to film stunt coordinator Harry Lundy, William G. Schilling, who reported it stolen. Approaching the man on set, Hammer causes chaos and Lundy is shot in the back with a projectile knife. As he breathes his last, he confesses to Hammer he laundered the gun to mobster Charlie Kalecki, Alan King. Visiting Kalecki, Hammer finds the gangster to be tight-lipped and evasive, giving nothing away. He denies any connection with Romero. And before I go any further with this synopsis, let me advise that it's a convoluted, nonsensical mess that doesn't exactly bleed coherence. The sex therapy clinic is a front for Romero's ongoing experiments in mind control and has links to the CIA and the mob. One of Romero's creations is a brainwashed human weapon, a sick psycho called Kendricks Judson Scott, who is being sent to eliminate anyone who might know too much and pose a threat to the project. The CIA coerces Captain Chambers into planting clues that will lead Hammer to Romero so that he'll shut the project down and the company can keep its distance and its hands clean, despite already making their involvement a little bit obvious by going after Hammer, Velda and Butler. But let's not concern ourselves with that. Dr. Bennett engages in a sexual relationship with Hammer, and her work at the clinic seems to boil down to orchestrating and hosting mass orgies and macho shagging. I'm not big on therapy myself, I think it's a load of self-indulgent mumbo-jumbo, but if I were to engage, a package deal at this place would be the sort of intervention I'd be happy to sign up for. Best approach is not to overthink it. Actually, don't think it at all, come to that. Dwelling on who is doing what and why will get you nowhere fast. Content yourself with the wholly gratuitous violence, sex, nudity and action, because there's plenty of those things, and they come thick and fast, if you'll pardon the expression. Heffron directs at a pace suggesting the production was running out of money fast, which it was, so it's quite frenetic and doesn't waste time on indulgent frippery like narrative logic. In fairness, he does a stand-up job. Bill Conti dishes up a howling, trashy, funky score, whilst Andrew the Warrior's Laszlo cinematography pulsates with urban grit and grain. The cast behave as if they're in a grungy live-action cartoon, and to all intents and purposes that's largely the case. Armand Assante has all the primitive cool and macho swagger required to impress as Hammer. Aspects of Sly Stallone and early Pacino inform his performance and give him that devil-may-care slightly psychotic edge. His own life and the lives of those around him represent little more than potential collateral damage in his pursuit of justice for a fallen comrade. Barbara Carrera is a silky sensuous femme fatale, one who is not in the least shy when it comes to on-screen nudity. When she is revealed to be Jack's killer in the end and slyly angles to put a bullet in Hammer, he blasts a slug into her gut. As she lies on the floor bleeding out, she asks of him,
"How could you?"
His response comes directly from Spillane's novel.
It was easy.
Pumping blood, she expires with her baps out. It's the way she would have wanted it, I'm sure. Lorene Landon is breathtakingly beautiful as Velda and steals all the scenes she's in. You won't take your eyes off her. She's like a magnet. Well, she is to me. As she's truly in love with Hammer, her on-screen treatment is a little more respectful. She's not made to get her baps out, one of the few. If I said I secretly think it's a shame, would that be horribly sexist? You know, I think it would. Secretly, I think it's a shame. She would go on to be a Larry Cohen regular in films like Maniac Cop and others. And, although I don't intend this to sound like an afterthought because it isn't, there's some fine solid support from the likes of Paul Sorvino, Jeffrey Lewis and Alan King. You get plenty of chases, fights, gunplay, explosions and bloody deaths as Hammer cuts a brutal swathe through the city and the countryside like some wired avenging angel on crystal meth. And it's obvious from some of the stylistic choices the film makes just why the censor got so hot under the collar. The juxtaposition between sex and violence is both shocking and thrilling to the baser instincts. During the orgy scene at the clinic, to which Hammer is a voyeuristic spectator, Kendricks is upstairs busy butchering two naked sexual surrogate twins on a waterbed. The cuts are split between writhing naked bodies, overheated images of orgasm, and the girls being slashed to ribbons as bloody water flows from the punctured bed. When Hammer escapes after being captured and interrogated by Romero's goons, he embarks on a wild taxi ride across Manhattan to get to the seedy dump where Kendricks is holding an abducted Velda. The frantic journey is intercut with Kendricks sadistically sexually assaulting and knife torturing the terrified secretary. Violence and sadism are dominant factors throughout. One of the clinic's sex surrogates who quit is silenced in a Chinese restaurant. The Chinese chef, cooking on a large grill, slashes her throat with a cleaver before she can spill the beans to Hammer. Hammer's response is to slam the chef's face onto the grill until the flesh fries and sizzles. In this type of movie, it's an organic process, entirely expected. You think it before it happens. Just forget that it's ludicrous. How did anyone know that girl would be on a date in that particular restaurant at that particular time, that Hammer would turn up, that an assassin Chinese chef would be required in that particular time and place? And where would you get an assassin Chinese chef at short notice? Is there an agency? To get the most out of this film, shut off the logical reasoning part of your brain. Its money is no good here, so put it away. I, the Jury is neo grindhouse on a budget, exploitation with a stylish edge, trash pulp pleasure with a profile. It blasts along without much of a care in the world other than to provide a twisted roadmap of hard-boiled entertainment leading to an explosive booby-trap finale as Hammer storms Romero's hideaway and turns the tables on the brainwashing bastard with a plug gun that explodes messily in his face, no less. I've revised my opinion on watching the uncut version, first released on DVD in 2015, then on Blu-ray in 2016. My disappointment with the ruinous UK VHS release back in 1986 prevented me doing so sooner. If you're in the market for an upscaled neo-noir non-PC detective flick with a glorious line in kinkiness and violent sadism, it's just the ticket. Punch it, Pilgrim. Thanks as always for your time and attention. Please feel free to do whatever you choose to do next. Hit like, don't like, comment, subscribe, check out my early access Patreon thing, or even make a welcome financial contribution via the thanks button. This has been something of an invigorating experience. Just hope I don't get carried away and do something rash now, or maybe that's just what I should do. Whatever, I will return.